One of these mornings, you're going to catch your reflection in the mirror, and you won't recognize the person looking back. Not because of a new haircut or some outward change, but because the internal work is finally finished. And when that moment hits, you'll finally understand why it took so long. This message didn't find you by accident. It's here because you're in the final stretch of a process that started long before you even realized it. And you need to understand what's happening before you give up, thinking nothing is moving. Stay with me until the very end. Before we're done, I'm giving you a specific protocol to activate what's being finalized in your life today. It's not just your typical burnout. It's that heavy feeling between a week that wouldn't end and the strange sensation of losing touch with who you are, as if the person you used to be packed their bags and left without saying a word. At 11 o'clock at night, when the house finally goes quiet, you stare at the ceiling and wonder, is anything actually changing? And the answer is slow to come. Not because it isn't there, but because you don't even know where to look anymore. In those quiet conversations you have with yourself in the car on the commute home, you realize you've stopped making big plans out loud. It wasn't on purpose. It just happened. It's like a part of you learned to stop announcing what you're waiting for, just so you don't have to explain to people later why it hasn't arrived yet. Some days you look at the people around you and feel like they're moving on a completely different frequency. You're just standing there, trying to figure out what's wrong with you. It's not jealousy. It's a sense of displacement you can't quite put a name to. Hit that like button as your public amen. Heaven records what you confess in the light. This isn't weakness. It's the sign of someone being rebuilt from the inside out, even if you haven't received the confirmation email yet. You're still here. You're still showing up. That isn't a small thing. It's evidence of a strength you didn't know you had. You aren't getting lost. You're being found in a way that only works from the inside out. And I know exactly what I'm doing. Before this video ends, you're going to receive 3 things. First, the spiritual truth behind that feeling of being a stranger to yourself, and why it's not a breakdown, but a breakthrough. Second, a 3-step protocol to activate that completion today, cooperating with the work instead of fighting it. Third, a declaration that will echo tomorrow when you look in the mirror, and you'll remember you were told this was coming. Stay until the end. Don't break the connection early. The most important part comes after you think you've heard it all. Before we go any further, I need you to confirm you're in the right place. I'm going to name a few signs. These aren't coincidences. They are the fingerprints of a masterpiece in progress. Close your eyes for a second. Look away from the screen. Just listen. Let each sign land. The first sign is a silence that feels heavy. You've stopped talking about what you believe is going to happen. Not because you lost your faith, but because the words feel wrong, or they meet a look of doubt from whoever is listening. You called it being cautious. In reality, it's the sign of someone placed in a process only God understands. I put you in this silence on purpose, not to shut you up, but to prepare you for a testimony that carries real weight. The second sign is the feeling of being left behind. You compare your life to people who started at the same time as you, and there are moments where you feel like you missed a window, a timing, a beat. You called it a delay. It's actually a sign that you're being prepared for a delivery that doesn't fit into everyone else's schedule because it wasn't made for their timeline. The third sign is a fatigue that sleep can't fix. You wake up and you're already heavy. It's not your body, it's something internal, like you're carrying a package and you don't know what's inside. You called it burnout or laziness. It's a sign that a layer is being stripped away from you, and removal feels heavy before it feels light. The fourth sign is the urge to start over without knowing what. An internal itch you can't scratch, a need to change something. Don't know what, don't know how. You called it a crisis. It's a sign that a new version of you is pressing against the walls of your life, demanding room to breathe. The fifth sign is that your prayers have changed their tone. You've noticed you don't pray the same way anymore. Sometimes you don't even know what to ask for. You just sit there, quiet, and that's it. You called it spiritual dryness. It's the sign of someone whose communication with the Father has gone deeper, to a place where words give way to pure presence. If any of these signs hit home, and they didn't hit by accident, type "free" in the comments. That's your declaration that you recognize where you are. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. What I'm about to tell you doesn't work if your attention is divided. Joseph didn't know he was being prepared. He just knew he was stuck. The pit didn't look like preparation. It looked like abandonment. Prison in Egypt didn't look like destiny. It looked like a mistake. But every place that felt like an ending was actually the pressure chamber forming a leader. When he finally stood before Pharaoh, there was nothing left of the boy sold by his brothers. He didn't recognize himself anymore, and that is exactly what qualified him for the calling. The work that looked like destruction was, from heaven's perspective, completion. There's another image I want you to hold on to. The world's purest diamond spent millions of years under pressure that would crush a human. There was no light in that process, no visible sign of progress, just compression from every side, no pause, no relief. And when it was finally found, the person looking at it didn't see the rock that started the journey. They saw something completely different. It didn't recognize itself as a common stone anymore, because it wasn't. The pressure didn't destroy what was inside. It revealed what was always there, just waiting for the process to finish. You aren't being crushed. You're being refined. And when it's over, you won't even believe the process that produced this version of you. Do you identify more with Joseph, not knowing what was being formed, or with the diamond, just needing the process to end? Type Joseph or diamond in the comments. Let me stop for a full minute and be honest with you. You got here by waiting. It might have started as active faith, and over time it turned into silent endurance. Not because you don't believe, but because a long wait wears on real people. It grinds you down without asking permission. Here is what is objectively true about where you are. You are still standing, even if standing looks different than it did at the start. You were planted in a process that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you are in the final stretch, which is always the most disorienting. That feeling of not recognizing yourself isn't a sign you're lost. It's a sign that the transformation has reached a level your mind hasn't cataloged yet. Construction sites don't announce when they're done. They just suddenly appear as a finished reality. And here is who you are in the middle of all of this. You are the evidence I am still building. Every piece of you that feels meaningless right now is part of a structure I know how to assemble, because I planned you. I'm not late. I'm finishing. And when I'm done, you're going to ask me, why did I ever doubt? And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter. Look at what we made together. You aren't who you were when the waiting started, and who you are becoming has a name. The first name is the remade. You were built with a version of yourself that had an expiration date, and that date has passed. The deconstruction you went through wasn't a mistake. It was a scheduled teardown. Heaven removed what wouldn't be able to carry what's coming. This identity gives you the authority to speak about starting over with real power. Not the filtered version people post on social media, but the version that knows the cost and paid it. The second name is the Endurer. You were put in a level of waiting that would have eliminated most people. Every time you wanted to quit and didn't, every time you wanted to scream and stayed quiet, every time you wanted to give up and kept walking, weight was added to your authority. This identity means you aren't just capable of receiving the promise, you are capable of sustaining the promise. There's a difference, and that difference was formed in the waiting. The third name is the Witness. You were put in this process for an audience. There are people waiting for your story who don't even know they need it yet. The depth of what you went through is proportional to the reach of what you'll be able to offer when you're on the other side. This identity means when the work is finished, and it will be, you won't keep it to yourself, because it wasn't just made for you. Which identity do you recognize right now? Type it in the comments. Remade, endurer, or witness. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, so the next word finds you at the exact right moment. A few weeks ago, something found me. I didn't create it. It reached me in the middle of my own season of waiting when I was trying to figure out where I was being led. It's called the Miracle Journal. 21 days to unlock your breakthrough. This isn't just another devotional. It's a structured protocol built in 3 cycles, because there is a specific order in which blocks dissolve. Trying to skip steps is the main reason why a lot of correct prayers don't produce visible results. The first cycle is the breaking. It identifies and names exactly what is holding you back. Not in general terms, with precision, because blocked blessings have an address, and a prayer without an address just flies right over. The second cycle is the clearing. It removes what has built up in layers, thought patterns, unconscious agreements, belief structures that look like faith but act like a ceiling. The third cycle is the possession. It positions you to declare what is already yours with the posture of someone receiving, not someone asking for the first time. Because what's being held back has already been given. This is about clearing the path, not winning a war. The first bonus is the prayer guide. 15 specific prayers for exact moments. Not for whenever, but for that specific second when you don't know how to pray. Including those times when the work feels stalled and you need a language for what you're feeling. The second bonus is the Psalms Manual. 10 Psalms with historical context, meditation, and faith declarations. Because David was stuck in the process too, and he left a map of how he stayed upright until the work was finished. Access to all of this costs less than a coffee and a bagel at the shop down the street. Less than a Chick-fil-A meal for the kids on Saturday. It makes no sense to go another month without this protocol. The cost of staying where you are is infinitely higher than the cost of starting. If you're thinking, let me see if it's for me, or I'll decide later, that isn't being cautious. That is the very block the journal exists to remove. Hesitation at the door of your freedom is part of the holding mechanism. You recognize that now. There's a 7-day guarantee. If it's not what I said, full refund, no questions asked, and you keep the bonuses either way. A woman, 38 years old, started on a Thursday thinking she already knew how to pray. On day 7 of cycle 1, she woke up at 5 a.m. without an alarm, with total clarity on what was blocked, and she cried for half an hour. Weeks later, a situation that had been frozen for 2 years finally moved. A man, 52 years old, had given up on believing certain things would change in his lifetime. He did the protocol without much expectation. In cycle 3, on the day 14th declaration, he felt like an internal lock had just snapped open. It wasn't hype. It was peace. And that peace lasted. A young woman, 24, started on a Monday in an identity crisis. She didn't know who she was anymore. She finished the 21 days knowing exactly where she was being sent, with external evidence that confirmed what she felt inside. Think about the cost of continuing without this. Another few hours staring at the same mirror without an answer. Another week in a cycle of questions without the protocol that clears the air. Your kids are growing up seeing a version of you that isn't the finished version. Your legacy is waiting for what gets unlocked when you move. The link is in the first pinned comment. Not tomorrow. Not after your shower. Now, because the work being finished in you cooperates with those who take action. And before we finish, there's a protocol you can activate right now. It's free, and it's your first step. It's called the Finished Work Protocol. 3 simple steps for tonight. Step 1. Identify the resistance. Before you go to bed tonight, get a piece of paper and write down one thing, just one, that you've been avoiding naming in prayer. Not a list. One. The thing that feels stuck but you haven't been able to put into words with God. Write it raw. Don't edit it. Just the truth. Step 2. Declare cooperation. Out loud, holding that paper, say, I cooperate with what is being done in me. I do not resist the process. I don't ask to leave early. I receive what is being finished. This isn't giving up. This is the active stance of someone who knows they are a work in progress, and progress takes time. Step 3. Sleep without revisiting. After you say it, don't analyze it. Don't check to see if it worked. Don't wait for a feeling. Put the paper somewhere you'll see it tomorrow, and let the process work while you sleep. The sign isn't excitement. It's quietness, the feeling that something has finally settled inside you. If it comes, acknowledge it. If it hasn't come yet, the protocol is done. The process continues. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be thrown at you. Not as a possibility, but as a certainty. Because when a work is in the final stretch, the resistance turns up the volume. Not because you're losing, but because something knows it's about to lose. The first is retrospective doubt. It will come as a memory. You'll start reviewing the past and finding proof that it never worked before. It will look like common sense. Your weapon against it is a single phrase, said out loud. You don't judge the planting before the harvest. One sentence breaks the cycle. The second is false urgency. It will come as a sudden demand for your attention, something that needs you to put your growth on the back burner for now. A small crisis with perfect timing. It will look inevitable. Your weapon is recognizing that you don't have to solve everything today. An urgency that stops a breakthrough isn't an emergency. It's a detour. Call it what it is. The third is surgical comparison. It will come as neutral information. Someone who made it, someone who got ahead, someone who won. It will look like inspiration. It will feel like a weight. Your weapon is knowing that someone else's highlight reel isn't the map to your destiny. What was promised to you doesn't run on someone else's clock. And beyond the external tactics, there's an internal voice that will try to convince you that this message was just a temporary emotional high. That tomorrow it will seem like an exaggeration. That you aren't the kind of person stuff like this happens to. That is the most sophisticated block because it uses your own voice. When it shows up, you already know its name. And naming it takes away its power. Type protected in the comments. The decree is sealed over you. Before I go, I want you to do one thing. Stay right where you are. Place both hands open on your knees, palms up. It's not a religious symbol. It's the posture of someone receiving, not clutching. For 30 seconds, just stay there. Breathe. Now quietly or in your head say this. I let go of what I was trying to carry. I let go of the rush to understand. I let go of the shame of the weight. I receive what is being finished in me. I saw you that night at 11 when you looked at the ceiling wondering if you still believed. I was there. I saw every conversation you had alone in the car, every plan you stopped announcing so you wouldn't have to explain why it hadn't come yet. I heard you. And every one of those moments was recorded, not as a failure, but as raw material. I build masterpieces with what people throw away. And I did my most careful work with the things you thought you were losing. Now I'm telling you, it's finishing. And when it's done, you'll look back and see that every detail was necessary. Every detail was mine. You weren't abandoned. You were being concluded. You're leaving here covered. Your mind is covered. Your relationships are covered. Your timing is covered. The process you couldn't even name, it's covered. Not the same way you walked in. You're different now. Steadier, clearer. Amen. Type done in the comments because it is. The word is out, the process is live, and heaven has the receipt. Share this video with one person you know is in a process and can't put a name to what they're feeling. Don't send it to everyone. Send it to that one specific person who just popped into your head. They need to hear this. And if they want to go deeper, the link to the Miracle Journal is in the first comment. waiting for them the same way it waited for you. The next video is already here on the channel, and the word coming up next was made for the step you just took. It is done. You aren't the same person you were when this message started.